are Wednesday, the 12th of October, and I'm with Dennis Harnest, Vedic astrologer, and you're gonna do my theme.
Yeah, it's been a few years, so
Yeah,
things have moved on now.
because they
Um,
can change.
oh
Things can.
yeah, I mean the natal chart is always there, but there's what are called transits and what are called the dashas or the planetary cycles, which we'll talk about. We'll focus on today, both of those.
Okay.
For example, um, you are in a major cycle. We mentioned this last time. Started about 2013 in June. Let me just double check that. It's a 17-year cycle. Excuse me. It started in May of 2013. It's a 17-year cycle. So you've been in it about 3 years of the planet Mercury. Now, Mercury is the planet of communication.
Nice.
So teaching, counseling, consulting, advising, writing. So the writing aspect is huge because you have a really good Mercury. In Western astrology, it's very strong. It's in Virgo. And in the Vedic, because remember the Hindu astrology is based on the sidereal zodiac, it slips back into Leo, the lion, so which is your sun sign in both systems. So this Mercury has power in either system because I'm a person, even though I do Vedic astrology, I like to acknowledge all systems of astrology. They all work.
Yeah.
It's just like allopathic medicine does work as in addition to Ayurveda and Chinese medicine.
Nice.
So, and making a point here is that the sun stays strong in both systems. It's Leo, which is your leadership, authority, power, person that will never be happy working for other people, that kind of thing. The lioness. So, but this Mercury cycle, it's like a big cycle where the planet kind of becomes the prime minister of your life for a number of years. And Mercury is always a 17-year cycle. So you're not only in Mercury cycle, but you just went into a Venus cycle in September. And that is a cycle of love, of relationship. And it's a cycle of creativity.
And I got engaged in September.
Really? What day? I'm curious.
The 14th.
Okay, pretty close. This has the 24th of September, but in doing this work for about 30 years, what I find is these cycles can kick in a few weeks early. It's almost like it's coming into manifestation, So, and any birth time could be off a few minutes. So there's always a little bit of a factor there to play with. But anyway, it says September. And Venus actually rules diamonds in terms of gemstones. I don't know what kind of gem you have there.
It's a diamond, excellent.
Yeah. So Venus rules also, it can definitely, it rules marriage. It's the significator of the 7th house of partnership. And what else does Venus rule? It rules creativity. So music, dance, drama, theater, literature, bringing the fine arts, bringing creativity, into one's work. So it's a very playful, more playful period.
Nice.
You're a very hard worker. Sun and Leo people have a very high level of integrity and a very high level of quality of what they want. So they work very hard to manifest, things. Yeah. It's like a kingly or queenly energy. They want to manifest things at a very high level. This Venus cycle is showing, though, that you...
How long is that cycle?
Well, that's a good point. The Venus cycle lasts for several years. It lasts until July of 2019. Till July 26th of 2019. So you'll be in it, for almost another 2.5 years, over 2.5 years. It's a long, cycle, sub-cycle.
Nice.
So the point is with the Venus is it also wants to have fun. It's like, and you do that with your life anyway, but it really wants to have pleasure that's healing and revitalizing. So it's interesting because it sounds like a lot of the books you're working on are all about that.
Yeah.
It's like, how can we do this, but also make it fun and, like you said, practical?
Yeah.
Because Leo is a very fixed sign. Fixed meaning pragmatic, practical, grounded, stubborn. No, it can be very persevering, kind of aspect in your nature. This Mercury in Leo. You just see here. It's also this is a strong period for you. The Venus, getting back to the Venus cycle. It's interesting. The Venus in your chart goes back from Cancer and Western to the sign of Gemini, the twins. The Venus is in a particular section of Gemini that we call Punarvasu, means the return of the light, or bringing light into darkness. It's kind of like Guru means dispeller of darkness. So this Venus is in a particular section of the Hindu zodiac. These are called Nakshatras. It's like dividing the zodiac into 27 segments versus just the 12 signs. So this Venus, where it's falling, is in a very favorable nakshatra, Punarvasu. It's actually ruled by the planet Jupiter, which is a planet of teaching, counseling, consulting, advising, publishing. Jupiter is also spirituality, higher consciousness, tapasya, sadhana. So this Venus is sitting there. It's in the 8th house, which is very unusual, because you may even do, of course, the 8th house is the house of metaphysics. The 8th house is the house of hidden things. The 8th house is the house of magic, because it's things that are, we use the word occult, which has a lot of negative connotation, but occult just basically means hidden knowledge, hidden wisdom. So it's like bringing things that are hidden to the forefront. And actually the 8th house can be the house of psychology, particularly transpersonal psychology or more spiritual psychology. It can be connected with Vedanta, Advaita, non-dualism. It's like things that are not part necessarily of the general public knowledge. So, do you see what I mean? It's kind of like a deep sea diver energy. Like, going down and exploring the steamy gullies of the soul, rather than staying on the surface. So this Venus is very nice, and it's in Gemini, which is the twins. So it can be, as it sounds like, can be actually working on several projects at once. At least two. You may have one thing going here, another thing on the side. But of course, as you know, you have to focus. But generally, Gemini gets bored very easily, so it needs a variety of things happening. So this Venus cycle, like we said, is going to last until July of 2019. Okay?
My partner is Gemini, so it's funny.
Interesting.
And my mom was Gemini. I've never been with a Gemini.
Yeah. Well, and also, you see here, even after the Venus cycle in July of 2019, you go into the cycle of the sun.
Oh.
And I think we've always told you this, that the sun is probably the strongest planet in your chart. It is the strongest planet. So right after this Venus, all this creativity, all this outpouring, then comes the sun. And the sun is in Leo in your 10th house. Doesn't mean you won't attain full recognition, things like that before then, but let's just say that could be a time where you may win the Nobel Prize of spiritual, how would we say?
Spiritual
humanitarian. You may get some kind of queenly prize of acknowledging, your work. And, it's kind of like getting, I've used the term like a Nobel Prize and maybe in spiritual communications or, outreach. So we'll see what happens with that. But you'll have a big party.
Nice.
Yeah, you'll get to be the Lion Queen.
Ah.
Not that you already are, but you'll see. And I'm not just saying these things to make you feel good. I can just see it. I can see it unfolding.
Yeah, but when is that then? The sun.
That sun period lasts from July 26th of 2019 until June of 2020. So it's about an 10-month cycle. It's kind of almost like the reward for all this creativity. Carl Jung said that the chief cause of neuroses was blocked creativity. So by, allowing all this creativity to flow, it's one of the greatest things you can do for your mental health, as you know, emotional health, spiritual health.
Oh my god, yeah, I love it.
Yeah, it's huge.
I can't help it but be creative. Oh my god, just
Yeah, you'll feel like you're dying if you don't,
yeah.
So it's great. It's built into your chart that way.
Mm.
Now, I wanted to get back to, so that's just a broader brushstroke of these are what are called dashas. Again, they're planetary cycles. To get technical, they're based on the position of the moon at birth, which we'll talk about here in a minute. And they're based on what nakshatra the moon was in. So it's very kind of technical. And that planet that rules it, it indicates you being born in it. So, for example, and there's sub-cycles within it. In order to fulfill all the 9 cycles, one would have to live 120 years. So according to other animal species, we should live around that. If it wasn't for McDonald's and this and that and global warming and whatever environmental pollution and some of our toxic relationships, we would be there, and particularly our toxic relationship with ourselves.
Yeah. So, oh my god. Yeah.
That needing to be healed. So the idea is that we should live a life like that. So anyway, you're in this Mercury cycle, and again, anything that's associated with Mercury, it can bring up, But I see your Mercury is really positive. And then, like we said, the Venus comes in. The Mercury I didn't mention is in the 10th house, which is the house of career. It's there with the sun. So that basically indicates real strong time, even stronger time, not that you weren't doing well before, but you were in a Saturn cycle before, which Saturn is a lot of work and effort and kind of maybe a little bit more fierce grace, sometimes.
Yeah.
Whereas the Mercury coming in can bring in some more gentle grace,
Nice.
Kind of proverbial working smarter versus harder.
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of thing.
that's definitely the
flow.
It's definitely flowing like that right now.
Right. Now I wanted to comment again on your moon. Your moon is very unusual.
What's up with my moon?
Your moon gets upgraded in the Vedic system. It goes from Scorpio, which is fine, which is great for your research, into Libra.
Oh, yeah.
So your moon is in Libra in the Vedic, and Libra is the scales. So it's wanting to always be associated with things of an honesty, integrity, truth, always being able to see both sides of a picture.
Yeah.
It's like seeing the light shadow and the dark shadow,
Yeah.
That we always think of the shadow as being the negative, but actually one of the biggest parts of the shadow is the light shadow, how we projected out the gods and the goddesses, and when we fall in love with someone, they carry all the energy that's in our own divinity. So Jung made a big point about this, that we don't just think of the, quote, the hard, challenging aspects when we think of shadow, but we should think of the light shadow and the projections and how we need to reclaim them to become whole.
Yeah.
And sometimes the hardest because of our sense of self-esteem and our inner critic that we have to kind of disarm. Yeah. So anyway, the reason I'm bringing this in is that your moon is in the 12th house. So the 12th house loves to explore the depths of things. As I mentioned, it kind of likes to explore the steamy gullies of the soul. It likes to go where angels fear to tread.
Nice.
Yeah. And this moon in the 12th house does indicate your need for alone time.
Yeah.
And you can be very social and do all these things, but at the end of the day, Paramhansa Yogananda said it very well, that seclusion is the price of greatness. So it's always good for you to be with a partner also that's the protector of your need for seclusion.
Yeah, he is.
And then you can be very close to them, It could be like a kind of a game where you could play queen for a day.
Nice.
And your partner, your lover, or even your friends, they come and they give you space, and they maybe knock on the door and leave you the tray of the breakfast, and take care of you, where you can just have a day where can be in stillness and you can do your work or whatever you decide. So that kind of thing is very important for you. Because the moon in the 12th is very spiritual. you know. And it actually says that if you don't get that time, you can become a little moody. You know, you need that space, you know, very strongly. Saturn aspects the moon, and that it's interesting. I have that in my chart as well. It creates what we call divine restlessness. So you need to always be working on something, growing, you know, like I said. So it pushes you. So that's that part of you that maybe drives you a bit, and which is good. But you know, again, remembering the 3-letter word fun always, which is great. You're doing what you love.
Yes.
That's so huge, because they found in research that one of the most important things for longevity and health was job satisfaction.
Wow.
You know, so this Saturn, you know, it pushes you, but just again, you need to be a partner that also have a partner that's fun.
Yes.
That uplifts you, that makes you laugh, you know, it keeps you light, it keeps you childlike, you know?
Yeah.
You know, in a good way. So this is indicated. This moon is in a particular section of Libra called Swati. And Swati means the priest or the priestess. It's kind of like in the tarot cards, the high priestess.
Yeah.
So it indicates your need for independence, autonomy, self-trust, and development of intuition. So again, writing on intuition, things like this is perfect, you know, because the priestess card, I don't know if you've ever seen it in the tarot, but
yeah, I remember you mentioning it in the first video we did.
Yeah, it's just a powerful part of your life. And in Vedic astrology, the moon is the most important of the planets.
Okay.
Because it changes every couple of days, where the sun sign changes every 29 days, you know? So it's very sensitive to time.
Okay.
So this moon, when you were born, was with a planet called Uranus. And what it is Uranus is connected with the Prometheus myth in Greek mythology of bringing fire to earth, bringing change, bringing innovation. And with that, you know, it kind of upset the gods. And so, you know, maybe there's sometimes the powers that be may get a little ruffled, but, you know, especially if you get political with your thing. So maybe good to steer a little clear. But no, it's Prometheus was, you know, he was a great soul who took the risk. Took the risk of bringing fire to earth, bringing change, bringing innovation. And it's actually interesting because Uranus rules the internet. So it's perfect. And yet, you know, it's interesting because the sun in Leo, you're on the stage, you're, you know, with Mercury, you're full on. And then that moon, Uranus, it has a different agenda. And its agenda is sometimes working behind the scenes. So even though it's your show, it's like you're empowering others. You're like the power behind the throne, too. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And that's that moon. That's that moon in the 12th house. It likes to be, you know, it likes to be kind of, too, you know, behind the scenes, if that makes sense. You know?
Yeah, that's very important. Yeah.
It's kind of a balance, you know? And then that moon is the part of you that needs that alone time, as we were mentioning. But it's like the alone time to do your creative work, you know? It's almost like I see you needing to always, wherever you live, create an alchemical kitchen. You know, you're like an alchemist, you know, throwing things in the pot and putting them in, and then letting it simmer and marinate, and then, you know, and then you can
I love that.
Get out and feed people. A big thing that's very important in any astrology, but particularly in Vedic astrology, it's emphasized as much as the moon is the rising sign. And what the rising sign is what sign was rising on the eastern horizon at that moment in time when you were born. And in your situation, you know, I know in Western astrology, you're Sagittarius rising. So the idea is if we would have went out that day in Santa Barbara and turned the sky magically dark, in Western astrology, it would say Sagittarius. But if we looked at the sky and were able to turn it dark, we would have seen Scorpio as the rising sign. So I know, like, you know, we know in Western, your moon is in Scorpio. So the idea is Scorpio is still showing up in either system. It's just in the Vedic, the rising sign being Scorpio is again that quality of, I call it like the Sherlock Holmes quality, that likes to solve problems, solve riddles, research, and it can be empirical research, or it can just be case studies, or it can be whatever you want to take on, but you want to explore the depths of it. You're a little bit like Persephone in terms of the Greek myth of Persephone, of going down into the underworld. Now, there is the story, which is true, and we've seen it go on in the world, and throughout millennium in terms of women being abused. And there is the story, of Hades or Pluto abducting her, and he takes her and rapes her, takes her down in the cave, whatever, and she's the victim. And that is true. But there's another version of that story that nobody hardly talks about.
More positive.
And that version is that she chooses to go down. She's not a victim. She actually walks and goes down because she wants to do that deep sea diving. She wants to go into the inner sanctum of her soul, and she wants to reclaim the cornucopia. Because I think it's Hades, but Hades is the Greek, name for Pluto, Roman, in Roman mythology. And I think Hades actually means the invisible, and it also means the wealthy. And so it's like the wealth of the cornucopia that's found when we go and do that inner deep work. And we could say shadow work, because usually when you go down into a cave, there's not a lot of light. Maybe until you get to the end of the tunnel,
Yeah.
So anyway, the point, getting back to your chart, is that this Scorpio is a very important part of your chart. And Scorpio is not just a scorpion, which is, the scorpion is that ability, like if somebody messed with you, you could really stand up for yourself, or if someone was messing with a loved one, it could be with gentle love and grace, but off with their head, It's kind of like if Hitler came into town, off with his head, with love, everything. But, as Ram Dass would say, you do what you must with another, but never throw them out of your heart.
Yeah.
So there are points in time with Scorpio where it can be like a spiritual warrioress, can be very like Xena, the warrior princess, or Durga, in Hindu mythology. But the idea is this Scorpio rising, it's, how would we put it? It's ruled by Mars in traditional astrology, and then it's actually ruled by Pluto in modern astrology. And that's why I'm kind of bringing up this myth of Persephone, if that speaks to you. Yeah.
Excellent.
And
it does.
Yeah. So she wants to marry the depths. She wants to be married to that truth. She is a soul that, like you, that just wants to go with the truth, wants to find the truth, no matter how even painful it is. Just give me the straight sauce.
Yeah.
I don't want, so it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful quality. And the last thing about Scorpio that I find really interesting is, and this is more in Western astrology, is that they say Scorpio is also connected with the eagle as well as a scorpion. So it's that ability, like the Scorpio, to do the microcosm work, the details, and then the eagle to fly above, like Garuda, or Horus, the falcon-headed god in Egyptian mythology, and see the nice because it can have the microcosm and then the macrocosm. Now, you have had and are having a very interesting transit, which I'm going to talk about on Sunday at my lecture here. I'm down here at this conference called ISAR, some of us pronounce it, even though it's spelled ISAR. And we're down here in Costa Mesa at the Hilton Hotel, in Costa Mesa, California, south of LA.
Yeah. And
I'm doing a talk on Saturn. And on Sunday here, and it's open to the public, so people could come if they want. It's it's not just astrologers; it could be anyone. And it's really a little bit more of an introductory talk. But the idea is that, again, Saturn is the most important planet for truth. And in your chart, you have Saturn going over your ascendant degree, which is very rare. That only happens once every 29 years.
Oh my God.
So,
when is that?
Fasten your astral seatbelt. No. It's what it is because you're a very Saturn person.
Yeah.
In a certain way, you very much, Saturn gives truth or consequences. It really would rather just experience full on and take off the rose-colored glasses and see things as they are rather than just as you would like them to be.
Yeah.
It's not that you're not an optimist, but it's a realist. You're a realist. So this Saturn, according to my calculations, if your birth time is fairly correct, which I'm assuming it's from the birth certificate, correct? Your birth time is from your birth certificate?
Yeah.
Or do you know? Yeah.
Well, that's
so
again, that's what my mom told me. Yeah.
Yeah. So probably 305. It could change at a few weeks or something, but so we won't be wedded to this exact day. But let's just say this Saturn going over your ascendant is happening, right around mid-November. So let's just say November. As we're moving through October, it's getting closer and closer. So what does all that mean? It indicates that Saturn going over the ascendant is like this new 29-year cycle. So sometimes I use the analogy, Lilou, that it's like you've climbed a mountain and you're at a plateau, and the mountain may be a very interesting symbol for you right now. Okay. And when you get to this plateau, you're like looking over your right shoulder, assessing what you've accomplished in this lifetime. And you're getting ready to move through this gate into this whole new chapter of your life and, taking anybody with you that you want to take, maybe leaving some people at the gate. Not that you're not a loyal friend, but it's just like people that are fine to see once a year versus once a week. So there's some pruning going on in the area of relationships. Mm-hmm. It's like who's going to go through the gate. And also dropping any excess baggage that you do not want to carry into this gate, through this gate. It could be physical things, it could be emotional, mental, spiritual things that just no longer work for you. I mean, it's kind of like the takeaway line from Dr. Phil, and I don't watch Dr. Phil, but the takeaway line I got, not that he isn't great, but takeaway line that I did get from him is, kind of the proverbial, is it working for you, And so that's a big question that Saturn asks at this point in time. What is working for you? Yeah. And it could be wonderful, and it could be working for everybody else. But if it isn't working for you, it's kind of like somewhat meaningless, So this is a pivotal time for you. Okay. It doesn't happen every day. So this is a 29-year cycle of Saturn getting around your chart. On average, it takes Saturn about 29 years to go through all the signs. So this is an interesting time for you. And it's a culmination, of a lot of effort, a lot of work that you've done. So you could even look back 29 years ago, or even let's just say 30 years ago, whatever, and see where you were then, and then the changes, So, you were very young then, but still, you were like a child. But the idea is,
I like hearing that.
Yeah. Still is that, this is a culmination of building up. Sometimes Yogananda said, he said that sometimes what we're really drawn to as a child, especially I think he said around the age of 9 to 12, something like that, when we're kind of in pre-adolescence, we're tapped in to what really we want to do. So sometimes, kind of like Jesus said, except ye become as little children, you should not enter the kingdom of heaven. Mm-hmm. So it's like tapping into that kind of childlike playfulness and what it enjoyed doing. And as you know, kind of taking that little one along with you, putting them on your shoulders. Because if they're not having fun, they can be very rebellious. Yeah. They don't need to run the show, but they need their say. And so always having a little dialogue with the little one and seeing what she wants. Okay. If that makes sense. So this Saturn, even though it's this time of deep maturity and coming even more fully, we could say into maybe a second half of adult life in a certain way. So.
Well, I would like to be a mother.
Interesting. Okay.
That's what we're going to go for next.
Yeah, you just
starting soon, probably.
30. How old are you now? 30?
39.
Right. You were born in 77, 39. So this is a time where a couple things. One is that it's this new phase. Venus, the subcycle that you're in, is connected with reproduction, you know. So it's more of a user-friendly cycle for for getting pregnant. So that's going on. You also, I was looking at this, and again, it's not that you have to wait until then, but you have Jupiter going over the moon, and the moon is connected with motherhood, and that is in December of 2000, and let me see, that would be December of 2017.
Okay.
So a little over a year from now. It's potentially a time, it can be a time of conception, because moon's mom, Jupiter, children. I mean, it could be time of having a baby. I can't say for sure, so I don't want to push the river here. But the idea is that
we'll call him
Dennis.
No, I'm kidding.
Huh?
We'll call him Dennis. I'm kidding.
Okay, so, but you know, it's important. I was talking the other day, I was up in Toronto teaching and up in Canada, and I was saying to the group, you know, my guru's guru, Sri Yukteswar, who was a great Vedic astrologer, Yogananda's guru, he said that we can't even practice astrology fully unless we use the conception chart, which is very humbling. So the idea is that this, you know, is like, you know, it maybe sounds a little unromantic, but actually it's very romantic, I think. It's like making love an occasion. So the idea is you would pick a chart, pick a night or, you know, time, you know, that is very good harmonically with the planets. Because if you think about it, why wouldn't that be an important timing? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Most people get pregnant when they're drunk or something, or who knows, you know, or whatever. You know what I mean? It's kind of sad in a way. I mean, you think about it, these souls are so resilient that they come in anyway, you know. But the idea is if you picked a decent, good, positive chart, then so much the better.
Yeah.
You know, it's the idea. So, you know, just talk to me. Of course, I'll tell your fiance or somebody, I'll say, oh, you know, every day's a good day.
Every day's a good day, but December 2017, you go for it fully.
Okay, so the idea is that I see that coming in. But again, you're in this Venus cycle already, you know, so it's very fertile, can be very fertile. So if you don't want to get pregnant, you know, just be careful. Yeah. So just know that. Let me see what else. When you were born, this is very important because, you know, I'm a Vedic astrologer is my thing, but I love all the systems. And so I'm what I call a neo-Vedic astrologer because I use the outer planets. So, you know, we were talking about Uranus being so important in your chart with the moon. The other outer planet that's very important is Neptune. Because when you were born, Neptune was right on the ascendant. So again, if we could have turned the sky magically dark and had some amazing high-powered telescope, again, I'm not an astronomer, so don't hold me to this, but, you know, the idea is we could have seen Neptune on the eastern horizon that day in Santa Barbara. So the idea, what does that mean, is Neptune there indicates the connection with Poseidon. Neptune indicates a connection with intuition again. Psychic ability. You're like a cosmic tuning fork, like Neptune's trident that he carries, or Shiva's trident, you know, with the three prongs. It indicates like you feel things coming in from the cosmos all the time and from people, and so you're an empath. Yeah. So it's just coming in very strong. Yeah. So you have to, not so much, I don't even like the word shielding so much, because I think if we block out things, then I don't know. It's like sometimes we have to get a little bit, how would we say, because it's an alchemical process, we have to get a little bit dirty, you know what I mean? We have to be able to connect with life, you know, rather than shield it, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like saying yes to life. But anyway, this Neptune makes it where you're very, very sensitive to people's energy. And so you do have to maybe do some kind of clearing things, you know, just to clear people out of your field after you've done work or whatever, you know, all these things. But it's important.
Yeah.
And this Neptune also indicates the need for water element around you.
Yeah.
Neptune rules the oceans and the rivers and the streams, but not the ocean. So wherever you live, if possible, it's not essential, but it's good for you to spend some time by the ocean.
Yeah.
You know, as we know, it's all the negative ions, and there's the healing power of the ocean is so strong. But it could be lake, river, stream. Even having a fountain in your home that generates water is very healing for you, because Scorpio also is a water sign. So,
okay.
And I have a lot of Leo in my chart as well, and us Leos were fiery. So the idea is that the water helps to kind of soothe us a bit, helps to soothe our pitta nature sometimes, the fiery nature. I think we talked about this before too. Your chart's really better for later marriage. You have the Mars in the 7th house. And Mars in the 7th in the Vedic system, sometimes it's made a bit much of this, but it's called Kuja Dosha. It means like an early marriage would end in divorce.
Yeah.
That's more, usually before the age of 30. It's stronger, that aspect, But again, that is not in play anymore. I mean, you don't even, let me see, you went in, you will not go into your Mars cycle until you're, like 113, so,
nice.
You're at that point, your partner may predecease you, but, okay, so that's my, I don't usually predict death, so don't worry. Ethically, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in predicting death or disease, or divorce for that matter, because it's like playing God too much, goddess with people. But let's just say the Mars is can be a little bit of a challenge planet in your chart. And so that indicates boys. And what I mean by boys is like dating.
Am I gonna have boys?
Dating men that are boys, it's like, what a playboy is a boy who likes to play.
Yeah.
And so it's just like moving from boys to men.
Yeah.
And, so it's just like really drawing in more mature energy. And it's not like, again, they won't have that childlike quality, which is a beautiful quality for men or women to have. But if it's running the show, it's too much.
No, I have a good one that is mature. Younger, a little bit younger than me, but very mature.
Yeah, that's the age
and
thing
fun.
Is somewhat of a fiction, because some of the souls coming in, I've found some of the souls in the 20s that I've met are much more mature than a lot of my homies that are in their 50s and 60s, So and again, you would want youthful kind of energy because you have Mars in the 7th, which likes strong youthful energy. It's just that there's a book called, you may like it, it's called On the Way to the Wedding.
Uh-huh.
And it's written by a woman, I think it was back in the late 80s. Her name is Linda Charisse Leonard, Leonard, and she wrote this beautiful book. It's primarily written, I think, a little bit more for women. I loved it. It's a great book. But it's about somewhat semi-autobiographical about how she talked about from a Jungian standpoint that women are trying to help this young boy inside of them, the animus, the inner male, to grow up and to become a man of heart. And as that work's done, then as within, so without, you draw in that man of heart, And so this is a process that we're going through of the inner marriage, the sacred marriage, the communio, as Jung would say. And then we start to draw in that man of heart. So it's a beautifully written book, I think. So I would recommend it, especially in this position, in this time in your life. If you haven't read it, I think you would enjoy it.
I will order it. Thank you.
Yeah, she's very, very great. A lot of dream work in it, too.
Nice.
Because the Neptune on the Ascendant indicates your strong connection with the dream world. And the importance of keeping like a little dream journal or something. Doesn't have to be a big thing.
I really remember when I do, it's powerful.
Yeah. Just even if it's sometimes a little snippet. You know what I mean? It can be just a little, like, 5-second thing. That sometimes will be a thread, like Ariadne's thread that leads Theseus out of the labyrinth. So sometimes it's not necessarily you'll remember the whole thing. You may just remember a little fragment. And then with that fragment, you start to come into it, and then all of a sudden it opens into a story.
Okay.
It's like active imagination.
Okay.
Yeah. Because that's a key word for you, is imagination.
Yeah.
That's the Neptune. You
Okay.
know, it's very much connected with dreams and visions and imagination. So, let's see what else. I mentioned the Saturn going through the Ascendant, this new 29-year cycle of your life. And how is your health? How are you doing health-wise?
I still have rosacea issues, so I'm doing a whole gut cleanse, but I had it since 2009, so my skin is it's really bad, and I haven't found the thing. But I'm doing probiotic enzymes. I did a cleanse here, so I'm going to continue with that to see how it helps.
Yeah, I think as Carl Jung said, sometimes these are what he called creative illnesses. I mean, even though it's on one level, it's you know, from the ego point of view, it's not fun and all that.
Yeah.
From another level, it's, as you know, it's what pushes you to maybe research things that you wouldn't have researched.
True.
And it's actually interesting. Saturn rules skin and Mercury sometimes. So it can give skin sensitivities. Doesn't mean it can't be overcome and all that. But sometimes it will bring things up. Because your Mercury is in Leo. Leo is a fire sign. So it indicates, like, and I'm not an Ayurvedic practitioner, I just know enough to get into trouble. But Mercury in Leo could indicate kind of a skin sensitivity due to pitta, to fire.
Yeah.
So, you know, in terms of subduing that, I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I'll do more research on it. Actually, I have a book here on that. So, yeah, I'm definitely fire. I could feel fire in my skin, so.
Exactly. So you have to maybe be a little careful with the sun, you know?
Yeah,
just,
I love sun.
You need that sun, of course, for vitamin D and all the other things that it brings. But again, maybe not the hot sun so much. You know, when it's too hot, maybe better to be a little more cautious, or go out at, you know, sunrise, sunset, things like that. You know what I mean? Okay. Rather than the sun when it's at midday. So,
that's
but
my
again,
favorite, the midday sun when it's really hot.
The
Leo in me loves it and recharges with the sun.
So maybe keep it more for a few minutes and just take it in, you know, and then again, it just the pitta maybe you'd be maybe a little bit more sensitive to it. So you know, and if you're in a more climate that isn't so like, you know, like Phoenix, you know, maybe a little better for you. I don't know. It's just something that I'm thinking is the Mercury. Because you've been into Mercury, like I said, for several years now. When did this start?
2009.
So you were in it before that. You were in Saturn cycle for 19 years. Let's see here. Yeah, because 2013. Yeah, so you were in Saturn cycle from 1994 to 2013.
Yeah.
And again, Saturn is a strong planet in your chart. It just, how would we put it? Good for education, good for knowledge, learning, all these things. Just wouldn't have been as great for domestic harmony, you know, for getting, you know, I don't know.
No,
maybe wherever you hung your hat was your home. It just couldn't, you wanted the stability sometimes, but maybe couldn't.
Yeah, now it feels really much like a different cycle where it's inner work and having a home base, like a fixed home base. Not that I wasn't, but it's like really just a nest, you know, where family and just very different. I feel like I'm in a different phase,
Yeah, and you know, the Saturn actually brings you to foreign countries, though. You know, that Saturn, it's there always because it rules your fourth house of home. It's in the 9th. Doesn't mean you can't live in the United States, of course, but sometimes you'll feel more at home in other lands and you're, you know, as you know, you're an international citizen. You're not just a domestic goddess. You know, you're an international goddess.
Yay! Universal goddess!
So I was just thinking, your new title is Queen of the Universe.
Okay. No.
So, you know, the Leo loves this, right?
Yes and no. Not all Leos. I guess it depends on I guess my rising Scorpio doesn't like that too much.
Well, and the moon in the 12th house. I was actually just saying it's kind of a joke. You know, I always say Leo, whenever I start lecturing sometimes I say, because I have so much Leo, let's start out by talking about me. No, you have the nice balance with the moon in the 12th. Scorpio rising. That keeps you in check. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. that will keep you humble.
Good.
And Leo can be humble too, because actually Leo ruled by the sun. The sun is the Atman, the soul. So it's kind of like letting go of the me-go, that likes to run the show all the time, and moving to a place of service. Mm. And that's the deepest message that I'm going to share about Saturn on Sunday. For those, that won't be here, I'll give you a quick download. Saturn is about humility and about being of service, but humble in a good way, like not in a self-effacing way, but in a good way, to where you realize that you are on God or Goddess's train. They're not on yours. And then when you're in that place of service, then all things open to you, Yeah. So it's a beautiful thing. And I know you know this, but it's just as a reminder, that Saturn wants to teach that. And it wants to teach also, compassion has to begin at home, definitely to an extent, and self-love. But it's also, wanting to be of service to people you meet within limits, because we have to have intelligent compassion, because sometimes we could get pulled off into other people's dramas, and it's not good for them or us, as you know. But the Saturn wants us to also remember that people are as fragile as glass. Mm-hmm. And we even though people are very strong, and sometimes the people that seem the strongest may be very vulnerable. So Saturn wants us to be of service, and wants the deepest lesson. It's almost like a bodhisattva vow of that we will serve all and help everyone to get, to wake up. Mm-hmm. So anyway, it's a beautiful thing that Saturn teaches us.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Dennis.
You're welcome.
I was wondering, I had a question regarding the ley lines, because last time you put the ley lines on some different parts of the world. Does that change through time, or is that...
Yeah,
because I knew I had Maui as a personal ley line, and definitely you're right, so many things happen after this, and Wayne Dyer helped me a lot.
Yeah.
And he lived on Maui, and I was just like really amazing force coming from there, and California. But I was wondering in France.
Let me pull that up. It'll just take a minute. To be honest, I didn't look at your dad's chart real carefully. All of you know, of course, your birthdays are very close together, so you're both Leos in both systems. So that could bring the connection with this project, Yeah. This teamwork and co-creation, cooperation, and playfulness. It's great that you're getting to do this.
It can be challenging too, but it's. I think we're soulmates or something, probably.
Yeah, because your birthdays are so close.
Yeah, it would be the same day of birthday if I was born in France. Because of the jet lag, I would be, at that same time, I was actually be born the same day than my dad, 30 years difference. And he had 30 years with his dad. So we're a nice triangle.
Yeah, and it's kind of that 30-year cycle of Saturn. It's on average, Saturn is like 29 years, but it's 28 to 30, So on average, it's about 29, but it's a big cycle, Let me just pull this up. It'll just take a minute here. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if there's something that strikes you, I was wondering if it changes.
Yeah, there's what are called fixed lines, which is the astrocartography, which doesn't change over time. It's there, permanent throughout your life, Lilou. But then there's also what's called cyclocartography, which are temporary influences. And this is just, the techniques I use are just several techniques of what's called relocational astrology. So there's a lot of different techniques that can be used in this way. So these are just, I studied with a man named Jim Lewis, who was the kind of the person, back in the 80s and 90s that popularized it, astrocartography. So August 20th, 1977. 305. How long were you in Santa Barbara?
Only for less than 2 years. My first 2 years, yeah.
Where are you living at now?
Mainly in a plane, can I say in a plane? But I'm spending more time in Paris, a bit more time overall in Paris.
Uh-huh. That's great. Okay. Let me just double check this. Yeah, that would have been Pacific Daylight Time. Okay. August 2077, 3:05 p.m., Santa Barbara, Pacific Daylight Savings Time.
Yeah.
Okay. And you were curious about Hawaii again?
No, not Hawaii, but just right now, if there's some things around Europe or France in particular, or more.
Okay.
Like well, even through France, if you can zoom in on France.
Sure. I'm curious now. Yeah, just for the rectification of Hawaii, just because we brought it up, you have a Saturn midheaven line that goes through Maui. So that's career-oriented, and it can indicate an older man helping you, or it doesn't have to be.
That was Wayne Dyer, because I listened again to our video years ago, and when I was on the Juicy Tour, and actually then I was like, of course it was Wayne.
Yeah. There's no lines going through there right now. That doesn't mean that it's negative or anything. It's just maybe there's not as much energy there now anymore. Of course, he's passed away, so yeah. It's just kind of neutral through the Hawaiian Islands right now. So okay, we'll move on to Europe. I'll just say this though: there is a Jupiter line that goes through Hawaii, through the Hawaiian Islands. Just to note this, it's a kind of a fast-moving line. So to be honest, it'll move through there fairly quickly. But it starts to go into Kauai right around just a little after Christmas. Like the day or so after Christmas. And then it will go through the Hawaiian Islands over the next month. So just in case you need to do something.
Okay, I was thinking about that. Yeah, good to know.
Just let's just say end of December through the end of January. Yeah. There's some good mojo going through there. Or sometimes the lines can come to you, but just keep that in mind. That's
interesting. Yeah.
Not that far from now. A little over a year from now. Okay. Let's go back.
Oh, it's not this year. You mean next year?
2017.
Okay.
Yeah. December 2017 through January 2018.
Okay.
Got it. And that Saturn line is always there. Yeah, through Maui. And it would affect the Big Island too, and it would affect all the islands because it's a very small geographic area.
Hawaii is my favorite.
Yeah, so it's always there. Yeah, it is mine too. Kauai is my fave, but I love all the islands, but it's all good.
Yeah.
So now through France, and you have a Jupiter line that's moving through there. Wait just a minute, sorry. Let me go back to the natal. I need to start with that first as the foundation. And you're in Paris, and then you, let's see, it's interesting. I would say you're better off being Paris or south.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Maybe I should live south of France.
You know what it is, to be honest?
It's Paris.
You have a Pluto line that goes through London and through the northwestern region of France, a little bit to the west of the Bordeaux region. And it's a Pluto descendant, which can be a little bit rough on relationships. So, they can be very powerful, very transformative, but at the end of the day, I wouldn't want to live under a Pluto line. So definitely London to me would be out,
No more.
You're in Paris, but again, I think more south is more, how would we say, more neutral, And but anyway, I just wouldn't go north of Paris. When I say north, I mean like don't go an hour north, whatever, because that line's kind of difficult. Just throw this out to you. You have some really good lines that go through Portugal. Just in case you ever need to go down there. Do you know of a teacher named Muji?
Oh yeah, I love Muji. I've interviewed him many times. I love Muji. I know he has an ashram there. I would love to go and visit him there. Yeah.
You've got really good you've got really good positive energetics there.
I love
Where
Muji.
I mean, to me, he's one of the highest beings on the planet. I'm not enlightened, so I can't really say for sure. I mean, to me, he and Amma and some other Amachi and other ones, to me are the real deal.
Yeah.
And but you have a Venus line that goes right through there, probably really close to where his center is.
Okay.
And Venus, is the sub-cycle you're running, so it could open your heart, it could open up your bhakti, your devotional aspect. And then a Chiron line that goes through there. Chiron is the great healer that trained Asclepius, the god of healing, in the arts of holistic health. And Chiron is where we get the word chiropractor from. And so you have a crossing of this Chiron-Venus line, which, of course, all your work is in holistic health and healing and all these chironic kind of things. So, as I would say, this is a new song by Alanis Morissette, isn't it chironic? You have this energy going through, and so it's lit up. So anyway, just note that it's always there to draw upon throughout your whole life.
Okay.
There is a moon line that goes through Valencia, Spain. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Madrid has a challenge because the Pluto line goes right through there.
Yeah.
So you're better off staying out of the bull ring. Going more towards Valencia, Mallorca, something like that, maybe.
Mallorca, I love it too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been there several times. I feel good there.
Yeah. So these are lines there. So let me see what's coming in, though, Lilou.
I probably have another 5 minutes.
Okay. Yeah. It's right now there are no major lines moving through France, which is fine. Okay. There was a Saturn line moving through there about a year or so ago, which is not so good. I mean, it could have just indicated the ending of something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, let me just double check. Yeah, it was, you had a Saturn line, because you had been in Paris for a while?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was going through there more like November of 2014.
That's when I split with my long relationship before.
Yeah. Yeah, it went right
Actually,
through.
It happened in Paris. It was in October, but it's close enough.
Yeah, close enough. Well, the line would have been starting to move in by then. It was just kind of like a weather front coming in.
But it was positive.
Yeah, exactly. So these things, Saturn brings sometimes from an ego point of view things that are difficult, but at the end of the day, when we look back on them, it's like, whoa, we got get out of jail free card.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Anyway, just indicates a completion.
Yeah.
Okay. So the last thing, I know you've got to go, is that you do have a moon line that's coming into, actually it's coming right now into Portugal. Let's see here, sorry. Let me get this right. Okay. You have a moon line. Okay, here it's coming. Okay. It's coming in, so it's neutral in France, no problem. The moon line, just to note this, I know it's a little ways from now, is coming into Portugal in spring of 2017. So just in case it works out, maybe a good time to visit Muji if he's there. I don't know. So like the spring, March, April, May. Anyway, and then this moon line, it moves through. It starts coming into France with a Jupiter line. Interesting. If I'm just saying hypothetically, if you were to get married,
tell us because we haven't set the date yet.
When it's not actually, you have to wait until then. It's just this there's a Jupiter line coming into France. Starts getting more fully into France around Valentine's Day. But it's 2018. I know this is a year and a half from now, so you don't have to wait until then. The Jupiter will come through there. It'll bring betterment. It's a fast-moving line. Where would you, if you were to get married, where would you get married?
In France.
What part?
Probably around our area, which is Nantes and Angers on the west coast of France,
Okay.
above west of Paris. I mean
Okay.
west on the coast under Brittany,
Okay.
or
Okay.
south of France. Well, who knows? I
Well,
don't
who
know.
knows? Well, anyway, just to note this, there's a Jupiter influence that comes in. It's going to be, you got a nice moon line that's going through France over the next several years.
Okay.
It actually gets to a couple of lines that cross. I'll just tell you this just in case. A couple of lines that cross through together, Jupiter and Moon, exactly 2 years from now, October 2018. They come together. Again, like I said, that doesn't mean you have to wait until then, but that could be a very important time. There are positive influences coming through as we move through 2018. Before then, it's fine. There's no what we say challenging lines coming through. So, but those are some of the things. I'm just seeing this kind of lit up as we move, more through 2017, like I said, Portugal is lit up more strongly, very strong. Yeah. And then 2018, as we go more towards the second half, it gets even stronger. But those lines would go through, probably go through Brittany in that area more like the late summer, fall of 2018. So, and then they go down through like Marseille and that area. They go kind of through central France together. They're conjoined right around 2 years from now, exactly. And it'll be strong, for the next month or so. So it's not like it's just, just for a day or so. We could say, let's just say the fall of late summer, fall of 2018. I really like too, and that could be also could even be the issue of pregnancy or even having a baby.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, as we'll say in summary, your life better than I. I just see these energetics coming in.
Yeah. Super cool. Oh my God, Dennis, you're great.
Yeah, it's great. Good. So nice to connect. And yes. We're planning on having a big conference in Sedona in November of 2017.
Oh, good.
Vedic astrology and yoga and Ayurveda.
You have to let me know when you know the exact days. I'll try to come.
November 30th to December 3rd of 2017.
Okay.
We've already got the dates, and it'll be at Poco Diablo Resort, which is there, just outside of Sedona towards the village. And one last thing, Zephy, you should talk to Zeph because she's doing the Women Arising again.
Oh,
this year.
I'm meeting her tomorrow evening, probably, when she comes back in town.
Yeah, because it'll be November 11th to 13th. Should be amazing. It will be amazing. So
this year.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
1 month from now. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'll probably post this on YouTube or on Facebook or on both. I will see. It's fun. I think it's great to see the practical way on how it's done, and it's very interesting. I think you're doing a great job.
Oh, thank you. So great to see you. You look so happy.
I'm coming out of a cleanse. I'm fiancéed. I'm having this conversation with you. I'm in Sedona.
Yes.
How does it get any better than that?
No. Enjoy, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful conference.
Hope to see you next time. Or who knows? Maybe I'll see you in Portugal. You never know.
Great.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.